when I was younger, I was brought up as a Christian. And so there's certain things within the Bible where it's like, okay, this happened in the Old Testament, this happened in the New Testament. Well, Jesus said this in this book, and this is what it is. But as I get older, I've been able to learn more, see the world a little bit more, and I don't think I'm as judgmental as I probably was when I was 15 years old. So as long as they're not a devil worshiper, it's like, all right, you all right with me, man. Because to me, it's at the end of the day, the common theme that I noticed in a lot of the major religions across the world is that it's basically rules and guidance on what's right and what's wrong, what's good, what's bad. So with that in mind, you know, I know people use the cliche, oh, I'm not religious, I'm spiritual. But I do understand that philosophy, because at the end of the day, human beings have been on the planet for, I believe, hundreds of thousands of years. So before we had language, before we were able to create letters and words and sounds in a coherent fashion to create a language, to create a religion, we still had to live and communicate and experience this planet. So whether our religion properly defined the phenomenon that occur on the planet, these phenomena still occurred no matter what. So it was already in place before we began to try to define it as a species of humans. Our cells already had a nucleus before we understood what a cell was and what a nucleus was. Ribosomes already existed. The deoxyribonucleic acid could already help identify specific individual human beings before we understood that 80,000 years ago. So these things already existed before we could understand them, and before we were able to make the advancements as a human species and humankind to be able to understand it. So I think that's where the spiritual part comes into play. Some powerful entity created something called water. Like, yeah, nowadays we know, you could ask a fifth grader, like, what is water? It's the two hydrogen molecules and the oxygen molecule. Okay, all right, but just think now, who created molecules? What created molecules? Even if we think we know the answer, it doesn't matter, because who or whatever created that was already doing that before we were in existence. Whether people want to say personify this creator so that they could better understand it and apply, rules and regulations on how to be right, it still existed. So I guess it gives us comfort as human beings to be able to categorize and label things and personify them, like, oh, God is a woman, or God is he's a man. At the end of the day, whether you want to call him Yahweh or Allah or God, whatever you want to call him, him, her, whatever, is clearly an entity that is supreme, that set things in motion. Like the intelligent design of living organisms. It's like, oh, well, this organism lives its life in water, so its internal structure will be designed to have gills that take the water and filter the oxygen so that they can live and breathe underwater 24/7. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's amazing. Well, this particular entity will be able to fly. So it just won't have regular arms like some animals do. It'll have wings, and it'll have strong chest muscles and a wingspan and feathers. And it'll be able to coast on breezes and flap the wings and fly 600-700 feet in the air, fly miles and miles. That's remarkable. That is amazing. Like the heart. Well, there's an organ in our bodies that needs to circulate blood. Blood going through the veins and the arteries, back and forth, circulating through the body, keeping it alive. So it'll be this organ called the heart. Amazing. Yep. So because of this wondrous world that we live in, human beings tried to make sense of this world and give credit where credit is due. So that's where we get the religion from. But at the end of the day, even if it wasn't religion, these phenomena will still exist, and that other realm, or that otherworldly entity that put all of this in motion, that's where the spirit part comes from. So I get why people say that they're spiritual, because they may not want to embrace some of the negativity that can get involved in the different religions. Because once again, religion is a man-made concept that we created in order to make sense of this world. So if it's man-made, it can potentially be flawed, because it's dealing with men and women, human beings. But the spiritual level, that's something that we can't necessarily dictate like that, because it existed before we did. Yep. So yeah, that's religion 101. No, I'm just playing. But yeah, that's just my thoughts about religion.